Welcome to our presentation of the Ryerson class of 2021 honorary degrees. Honorary degrees are our highest honor. Ryerson presents honorary degrees to individuals who have made exceptional contributions to our university, our community, and our world. You may know some of this year's recipients. Others will be new to you. Each is truly remarkable, and we are thrilled and privileged to recognize them in this way. Honorary doctorates also serve a second purpose. We hope our students will see what's possible and be inspired to become change makers too. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge the land on which Ryerson University sits. Toronto is in the dish with one spoon territory. The dish with one spoon is a treaty between the Anishinaabe, Mississaugas, and Haudenosaunee that bound them to share the territory and protect the land. Subsequent indigenous nations and peoples, Europeans, and all newcomers have been invited into this treaty in the spirit of peace, friendship, and respect. And now, our honorees.
It is my great privilege to deliver the citation for Brian Gluckstein, upon whom Ryerson University is conferring the degree Doctor of Fine Arts honoris causa, our highest award. The Globe and Mail said about today's honoree, "There's little that ruffles celebrity designer Brian Gluckstein. Everything about him is calm. Tranquility, you could say, is his trademark. No doubt that part of Brian's character has contributed greatly to his success, because finding comfort, joy, and indeed tranquility in the spaces that surround us has been the hallmark of his design philosophy. To put it another way, everyone, according to Brian Gluckstein, should be entitled to live in a beautiful environment. His life's work has been to make such environments accessible to the greatest number of people possible. Mr. Gluckstein has said design runs in his family. His parents were in the furniture business, and his sister began working in design when young Brian was still in school. He has always had a creative streak, sketching and building things for as long as he can remember. That talent and interest led him to Ryerson, where he earned a degree in the School of Interior Design. After graduating, he joined a small firm, but dreamed of opening his own company. He says that's because he wanted to work on just a few projects at a time and do them his way. That dream became a reality more than 30 years ago. Since then, Gluckstein Design Planning has designed hotels and condominium towers, including the Four Seasons Hotel and private residences at Bay and Yorkville in Toronto, 2 Columbus Circle in New York, and too many others to mention. He is a new home design ambassador for Hudson's Bay Company, and his Gluckstein Home Collection brings his elegant aesthetic to the wider public. He has become a design celebrity, appearing regularly on the Cityline television program, writing a lifestyle blog, and authoring The Art of Home, which appeared on the Globe and Mail's bestseller list. Mr. Gluckstein has earned recognition as one of the top designers in the world, voted favorite interior designer by House and Home readers. Not as well known about Brian is his commitment to giving back. He says he learned the importance of sharing his success through the examples he saw by many of his clients, recognizing the need for balance in life and making a contribution. His focus is supporting vulnerable children and youth, and he is a highly engaged member of the board of the Children's Aid Foundation. The work is close to his heart. The foundation is committed to improving the lives of children and youth in the child welfare system, foster care, group homes, and homeless youth. Since 2013, Mr. Gluckstein has designed the Princess Margaret Home Lottery Grand Prize Show Home to raise funds for advancing cancer medicine at the Princess Margaret Cancer Care Center. Brian Gluckstein, you are an inspiration to young people for your personal and professional success, grounded in compassion, inclusion, good grace, and leading with purpose. For providing an extraordinary example of a life committed to living your values and sharing your success, we thank and honor you today. I now ask Chancellor Fukakusa to confer the honorary degree.
Ryerson University, by virtue of the authority granted by the Province of Ontario under the Ryerson University Act, has awarded the degree Doctor of Fine Arts, honoris causa, with all the rights and privileges attended thereon, to Brian Gluckstein.
Chancellor Fukakusa and President Lakshmi, my fellow honorees, and of course the graduating class of 2021. It is my honor to speak to you on this very special day. Congratulations to each of you on this milestone achievement. I am sure it hasn't been an easy feat, but you persevered and earned this success, and for that I applaud you. I can't believe 38 years ago, I was sitting in your same shoes, graduating from Ryerson's interior design program and ready for my own adventure to begin. I have to admit, it was bittersweet to know what I would be leaving behind. Right away, I felt Ryerson was the place for me. On my first day, I looked around the room and saw more like-minded people than I'd ever seen in any one place in my life. People who shared my passions, who were full of curiosity and new ideas, and who I could learn from and grow with. I made friends there that I still have to this day, and ones I know will remain great friends for the rest of my life. I'm sure many of you sitting here today can look among your peers and say the same. I've enjoyed watching Ryerson transform over the years since my own graduation to the incredible institution it is now. Today, it's a world-recognized university and has added so much value, not only to the institution itself, but to the community at large. The university has produced some of the country's top talent across so many industries, many of the alumni having gone on to do extraordinary things. And here today marks your opportunity to begin the work to do the same. Today you may be graduating, but I hope your curiosity and desire to learn carries on well into the future as you embark on this new journey. Remember to move forward and be fearless in your pursuit of your passions. Focus on what excites you because it will lead you to wonderful places. Have patience, enjoy the ride, and celebrate all your little wins along the way. Success is more about the process than it is about achieving any singular end result. Winston Churchill once said, "Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts." Whatever it is that you decide to work towards over the coming years, I recommend leading with kindness and compassion. These things don't go unnoticed, and I can say from experience that embracing these values will not only make your days more fulfilling, but allow your network and career to flourish too. Be a team player and support your peers. Recognize that there's so much to be learned from those around you and realize how much you have to offer in return. There is truth in Ken Blanchard's quote, "None of us is as smart as all of us." As you move forward, I can't express enough the power of a good mentor. I've had a few myself, and I credit a lot of my success to the guidance and support received through them. Having someone whose prior mistakes and successes you can learn from is an invaluable and an incredible way to continue learning outside of formal education. Look for someone you admire and trust to help you along your journey. When the time comes, return the favor for someone who looks up to you and teach them the things you wish you had known early on. I also recommend considering your contribution to your community and what you are leaving behind. Will you carve a new path and make things a little better for those who follow? I believe the impact you make on your communities would last and ultimately what matters most. I was lucky enough to be raised by parents who instilled in me this sense of community from a very young age. My parents were philanthropic and inspired me to start giving back as early as I could, whether that meant loading boxes at food banks or serving Passover dinner for people with AIDS because they were alone. More recently, I've designed wings for hospitals, the show homes for the Princess Margaret Cancer Center, and sat on the board of the Children's Aid Foundation. No matter your age, the stage in your career, or how busy you might be, there are so many ways to give back to your own community. I promise it will be worth your while. So today, I wish each of you a prosperous path forward, whatever that might mean for you. Stay kind, humble, and hungry, and you will go far. Remember, you are here to leave your own unique mark on the world, and there's nothing more exciting than that. Stay true to yourself and believe in your own abilities, knowing you can accomplish whatever you set your mind to. To paraphrase Helen Keller's famous words, whatever you're looking for is not out there, it's in you. Again, I'd like to thank you for the honor of being included in this wonderful celebration. I am proud to be part of the Ryerson alumni, to be surrounded by this community of such intelligent, ambitious individuals who I know will go on to do incredible things. I can't wait to see what the future holds for you. Congratulations.
I'm honored and thrilled to deliver the citation for Wesley J. Hall, Wes, my colleague and friend upon whom Ryerson University is conferring the degree Doctor of Laws honoris causa, our highest award. On his desk at his Bay Street office, Wes Hall has a photo of his grandmother, Mrs. Julia Vassell, standing in front of the tin shack where she raised Wes and 12 of his siblings. It was there in Golden Grove in the parish of St. Thomas, Jamaica, that Wes Hall learned about self-sacrifice and the value of a strong work ethic. Every day, Wes watched his grandmother work tirelessly, preparing meals for all the grandchildren in her care, going to work and supplementing her income by selling homemade puddings and homegrown bananas and plantains at the local market. Mrs. Vassell was a self-made entrepreneur by necessity. Inspired by her love, self-sacrifice, and resilience, Mr. Hall says he lives his life trying to live up to his grandmother's example and expectations. And indeed, what a remarkable life it has been for him so far. Mr. Hall left Jamaica at 16 to live with his father in Toronto. He worked while in high school, often at multiple jobs, making his way into the mailroom at a downtown Toronto law firm, which in part led him to study finance and law. He never looked back. Mr. Hall has gone on to found and build Kingsdale Advisors, one of the leading shareholder services and advisory firms in Canada. Toronto Life magazine named him one of the 50 most influential Torontonians of 2020. It is in his work against Black anti-racism that Wes Hall has become an inspiration for values of fairness, inclusivity, and equity. Last year, he founded the Canadian Council of Business Leaders Against Anti-Black Systemic Racism. Its flagship project is the Black North Initiative, which aims to increase the representation of Black people on corporate boards and executive teams in Canada. It is committed to the removal of anti-Black systemic barriers affecting the lives of Black Canadians. Mr. Hall has used his position and his influence to bring some of Canada's most powerful business leaders to the table to embrace the Black North Initiative. The result is that some of the largest corporations and law firms in Canada have signed a pledge outlining several specific actions to address systemic racism within their organizations. So far, almost 500 have signed the Black North Pledge. Mr. Hall has extended his work to the region of his birth, first with generous contributions to the Sick Kids Caribbean initiative that have supported the creation of key healthcare infrastructure in the region. He has also generously supported education in the Caribbean, and for his work and commitment in support of the University of the West Indies, Wes was conferred an honorary doctorate. The inspiration of that photo of Mr. Hall's grandmother beside the tin shack reminds him never to forget, and has led to his outstanding achievements. Undoubtedly, his journey will lead him to many, many more. Perhaps most important of all, he has dedicated much of his time and resources to lending a hand up to others, creating access to education for marginalized and underrepresented communities in Canada and the Caribbean. Mr. Hall, Wes, you are a visionary leader who is not afraid to challenge the status quo and affect social change. Your personal success is an inspiration to young people who strive to overcome modest beginnings to achieve their dreams. For your extraordinary commitment and outstanding achievements, we thank you and honor you today. I now ask Chancellor Fukakusa to confer the honorary degree to Wesley J. Hall.
Ryerson University, by virtue of the authority granted by the Province of Ontario under the Ryerson Act, has awarded the degree Doctor of Laws honoris causa, with all the rights and privileges attended thereon, to Wesley Hall.
To Chancellor Fukakusa, President Lakshmi, faculty, esteemed guests, parents, guardians, friends, and the graduates of one of the greatest universities in the country that I am now fortunate enough to call home, I want to thank Ryerson University for presenting me today with an honorary doctorate from your esteemed institution. So I want to speak with you today, and I wanted to share a few slides with you. And I want to start by talking about the journey that I took to get to where I'm at today. This is a picture of me and my grandmother. We're in St. Thomas, Golden Grove, Jamaica. This was 1973. And I was about 4 years old in that picture. And my grandmother, as you can see, she wasn't a young woman. See, my grandmother took us in when I was 18 months old. My mom left myself, an older sister, she was only 2 years older than me, and my younger brother in a place, and she never came back. And a neighbor heard us crying because we're alone. And the neighbor went to the sugarcane plantation to get my grandmother. And she brought us to live in this place. And if you've heard me speak in the past, you'd hear me speak of a tin shack. And this is that infamous tin shack that my grandmother brought us to live with us. We'll live with her. Now, if you look at that tin shack, you'll see that it's nothing special. In fact, it's a 2-bedroom place. And you notice that it's actually built on stilts. And the reason why it's built on stilts is because of the fact that that area was prone to flooding, and the water would come all the way up to the steps where that young boy is standing. And I remember being a child, just sitting there, playing in the water, my feet dangling during a heavy storm, and the water is all the way up to the veranda. Now, that person in in red and burgundy, that's me. And that older woman is my grandmother. I came to Canada September 27, 1985, and I went back a few years later, and I told my grandmother that one day I would get her out of that tin shack. So if you look at the other shacks, the one next to the right, they all look the same way. And the reason why we have that place that we call home is because of the fact that anyone who worked on the plantation owners would give them a place to live and to raise their family. That was our piece of paradise. in Jamaica. When you hear about Jamaica, you tend to think about the beautiful beaches and blue skies and so on. Well, that's not my reality of Jamaica. This was my reality of Jamaica. And if you look at my forehead on the right-hand side here, you'll see a scar on it. And that's a permanent reminder of where I came from, that tin shack. I was sitting on those steps and I fell and hit a rock below. And this caused, that rock caused this scar that remind me every single day of where I came from, that tin shack. Now, let's fast forward to what brought me to this great country of ours. See, when I was 16 years old, my dad showed up. He left Jamaica when he was 25 years old, and he left to build a better life for himself in Canada. And as a result of leaving to go to Canada, he got remarried. He had kids in this country, but he remembered that he had this child named Wesley Hall in Jamaica. And my dad applied to bring me here to live with him in Canada. And I came to Canada September 27, 1985, to live with my father. It was the happiest day of my life. Now, I keep that picture of that image, the original image that I showed you of me and my grandmother facing the tin shack in my office on Bay Street as a reminder of where I came from. And it reminds me because there's two reasons why it means so much to me. One is that I grew up in that tin shack, so never forget where you came from. And two is to really honor this country of ours, Canada, because if it wasn't for this country, I wouldn't achieve what I've achieved today. You, as you go through life, you're going to find people who believe in you. You're going to find people who open doors of opportunity to you. But sometimes those doors that people open for you may not be the door you want opened. My first job on Bay Street was in the mailroom of a law firm. And most people would say, no, I'm smart, I'm educated, I'm not going to take that job in the mailroom of a law firm. I took it because to me, it was an opportunity. And when I went into that law firm and the mailroom, I saw all these lawyers dressed in business suits. I've never seen it before. It was like I was on an episode of LA Law back in the day. And all of a sudden, I saw the world that I wanted to be a part of. I went to Goodwill, I bought myself a suit, and I started to wear a suit to push the mail cart around. And then I got an opportunity. Richard Branson once said, and I live by this, that if somebody offers you an amazing opportunity and you don't know if you can do it, say yes and figure out how to do it later. That's not you being an imposter. That's you saying, I believe in myself. I am going to invest in myself and I'm going to make a difference as a result. And it doesn't really matter where you start. It's really where you ended. So now you're in a position that you're now starting your journey. And this is a completely different journey that you're on. And you're going to meet a lot of people along the way. And you're going to get a lot of opportunities presented to you. And how you respond to those opportunities will determine your future. It will determine the impact that you will have on our society, positive or negative. You'll be offered jobs and they will be giving you salaries that you couldn't even imagine that you would make in a lifetime, or your parents couldn't even imagine that they would make in a lifetime. And you have choices to make. And I would say, be very careful in terms of how you make those choices because it will impact your future. Never take an opportunity because of the dollar signs that's attached to it. Take an opportunity because of what it can do to you and the changes that it will make in our society. Last year, I formed the Black North Initiative. And the reason why I formed that organization is because of the fact that I want to create opportunities for underserved people among us. Someone once said to me, Wes, when we become successful, especially when we came from poverty and we become successful, we also become first responders. And what that means is that we must go back into poverty and pull as many people out as we possibly can. That's our duty. That's our responsibility. That's how we make a difference. But also, I want you to be uncomfortable in the decisions you make. Don't just take it because I'm going to relax and coast, because that's how you make a difference. I didn't get to the point that I am in life from coming from a tin shack to here because I take easy decisions and I take the easy way out. No, I had to work very hard. I had to make some tough choices, but I also had people around me who believed in me and who had my best interests at heart. So try to find those people as you go through your career and your life and your journey. Make sure that you surround yourself with people who always think what's best for you. But again, never think about the dollars that attach to an opportunity. Think about how you can reflect and make an impact on the future of our country. So as I close to you today, I would say this, that you have an amazing life ahead of you. And you want to sit back and say, when I'm 20 years, when you retire, 20 years from your retirement, and you sit back in your retirement chair and you're rocking in your rocking chair and you look back and you ask yourself the question, did I make an impact? Did I make a difference? And if the answer is yes, I've done all that I could to not only make an impact, but I've made a difference in society, you're going to be very proud of yourself at that moment. See, there's a lot of people who have the ability to do great things and never use it. And there's some that have none of those abilities, but yet they do great things. I encourage you to do the same, and I wish you all the best on your journey.
It is my great privilege to deliver the citation for Louise Penny, upon whom Ryerson University is conferring the degree Doctor of Letters honoris causa, our highest award. In the new book, State of Terror, by Louise Penny and Hillary Clinton, the heroes are two middle-aged women who are constantly underestimated. It is an experience familiar to Ms. Penny and Mrs. Clinton. Born in Toronto, Louise Penny started her career at the CBC as a radio host while still a student at Ryerson. She earned her Bachelor of Applied Arts in Radio and Television Arts in 1979 and began a successful radio career, hosting programs, producing documentaries, and covering the radio show Morningside for the legendary Peter Zosky. Her work as a reporter and radio host took her to Thunder Bay, Winnipeg, and Quebec City, and then back to Montreal, where her final post was at Radio Noon. In 1994, Miss Penny met her future husband, Dr. Michael Whitehead, then chief of hematology at Montreal's Children's Hospital. He encouraged her to leave broadcasting and write the novel she had always promised herself she would. Shortly before their wedding in 1996, she left the CBC, and the couple subsequently moved to the eastern townships of Quebec. The transition to full-time writer was not easy. For 5 years, she faced writer's block, and then her first novel was rejected or ignored by 50 publishers. But in 2005, Still Life was published. Ms. Penny was 46 years old. Readers and critics have embraced her mystery novels set in Quebec and featuring Chief Inspector Armand Gamache. 8 of her books have debuted at #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. She has been published in 28 languages and sold more than 6.3 million copies. Along the way, she has received many honors, including 5 Agatha Awards for crime fiction, the Ryerson Alumni Achievement Award, the Ordre National du Québec, and in 2017, the Order of Canada. Success, however, did not come without significant personal challenges and indeed pain. Overcoming what she describes as an unhealthy worldview and coming out on the other side gave her a profound belief that goodness exists. That realization, she says, has become a recurrent theme in her work. When Ms. Penny's husband passed away from dementia in 2016, Hillary Clinton, an avid fan of her work, sent Ms. Penny a letter of condolence. That was the beginning of a friendship and collaboration that has led to the recent release of their novel about a US president dealing with the threat of terrorists armed with nuclear weapons. State of Terror has been described variously as frightening yet funny, gripping, a heart-pounding mystery, timely and important. And although the middle-aged female characters in the book may be underestimated, that can no longer be said of either of the co-authors. Ms. Penny, in addition to your remarkable success as a writer, you stand as an example of the power of the human spirit, resiliency, vulnerability, and empathy. As a world-renowned author and a source of inspiration to anyone who is facing significant challenges, striving to come out on the other side, we thank and honor you today. I now ask Chancellor Fukakusa to confer the honorary degree.
Ryerson University, by virtue of the authority granted by the Province of Ontario under the Ryerson University Act, has awarded the degree Doctor of Letters, honoris causa, with all the rights and privileges attended thereon, to Louise Penny. Louise, we know you're busy traveling to promote your new book, State of Terror. We're grateful to have you accept this honorary doctorate from the university and that you can spend some time chatting with me.
This is an amazing honor, Madam Chancellor. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're quite welcome. To those watching, Louise won't be giving a convocation address, but instead will offer her insights as I ask her some questions. Once we're back in person, we'd love to have Louise and our other honorees, Brian Gluckstein and Wesley Hall, address a graduating class at Convocation. Okay, Louise, let's get started. Louise, where are you right now, and how has your book promotion been going?
Oh, thank you for asking. And again, I do want to thank you, Madam Chancellor, and Mr. President, and the faculty and staff of Ryerson, and of course, congratulate all the students who are graduating and their parents who have put a lot of time and effort and hope that they will see this day. I remember this day well from my days at Ryerson, and with great affection. I'm in London actually right now. I came over less than a week ago, been promoting the latest book, and just got back from Oxford actually, where we had an extraordinary time. And it's a hectic time, a little bit scary, to be honest, but just so full.
That's really great that you can get around, and it's good to be able to travel again, isn't it?
Oh gosh, it really is. I find it sometimes scary to just walk out the door. The very thing I most wanted to have happen, and most of us did, I now find intimidating. But getting used to it, being very careful, still masking, social distancing, doing all that we try to do, double vaxxed, of course, all being responsible.
I think we're all like that now, but it's good to hear you getting ahead of the curve. So congratulations on the success, not only of this book, but of all your published works. You co-wrote State of Terror with Hillary Rodham Clinton. Can you tell us what that experience was like?
Well, you want to talk about scary. Hillary and I were friends, actually, thankfully, before this, but I know that she had concerns when we were approached that it would affect our friendship, which then maybe made me wonder what exactly she planned to do to me that might affect our friendship. I had other concerns. I'd never written a political thriller. I'd certainly never written with another person. And my first drafts are awful. They're soft, they're smelly, they are really... So I thought now Hillary is going to discover just how bad a writer I can possibly be. But it turned out to be a really good experience. And for many reasons, perhaps because we were friends beforehand, there was an area of trust. We knew that we were in a safe place so that she could put forward an idea that may be a little bit out there, and I wouldn't shoot it down. I wouldn't dismiss it. I would listen, try to find something that worked in there and say, yeah, but what about this? And then she could say the same thing. Yeah, no, I don't really think that works, but how about this? And I think often in the best collaborations, you respect each other, you build on each other's thoughts, and you know that you're safe to take risks. And that's what happened. This was a big risk for both of us. But what's life without risk?
I think that's great insight. And some of the learnings our students can really focus on those, because I think they're in a bit of a state of terror going into the next step of their career. So I think that's excellent that you're able to come forward with them and telling everyone it's okay to feel like that.
Well, it is okay to feel like that. And I think it's natural. And sometimes it would be ridiculous not to feel fear. And the key, Hillary and I talk about this a lot, because, of course, what she's been through and what I've been through in my life, it's resilience. It's taking risks. It's being knocked down. It's getting back up and always moving forward, always move forward, always move forward. And we're wounded, but very few wounds are lethal. We just keep moving.
Great. Those are great insights. As you know, we have Ryerson University's graduating class, as well as our entire community watching today. What does it mean to you to accept this award from your alma mater?
And my friends asked me about how did this come about. And I think part of it was, how did this come about? Why are they giving it to you? Well, I'm kidding. They didn't really say that, and they didn't mean that. I mean, to have it given to me by another university would be terribly moving and unbelievably important. But from your own alma mater, it's an incredible feeling. And I think of the students watching today, and I have to tell you, 40 years ago when I was in your place watching this, it would never have occurred to me that this moment could come. And so I am overwhelmed and humbled, and it's made me reflect even more, as I do so often on my days at Ryerson, which I was a very quiet child and a very kind of withdrawn. I'm by nature an introvert, and that certainly played out a lot through high school. And it wasn't until I got to Ryerson and in the environment that Ryerson created. I talked earlier about the environment with Hillary and that safe place to experiment. And Ryerson gave me that safe place to experiment, and that's where I bloomed and never looked back.
Well, I think it's great to award this honor to one of our graduates, because I think that it inspires all of our graduates about what they can achieve. It's great recognition for you as well as all of our graduates. So Louise, if you could offer one piece of advice to our graduating class, what would it be?
Oh, that's a great question. And it's a tough question. You know, I think it's about, like Martin Luther King said, you don't meet hate with other hate. You're never going to defeat hate with hate. You're going to defeat it with love. So I think it's about love, and I think it's about loving life. And no matter what the challenges are, and God knows the graduating class has challenges, many of which were dumped on you by my generation, and for that I apologize. But I'd love it if you'd never forgot to love life.
Louise, that's great advice. And I think this next question might give us a way of getting into your head about how you thought about your journey to date. You didn't start writing novels until you had an established career as a journalism. What gave you the motivation and courage? We talked a lot about courage to change gears.
You know, I had wanted to write. I'd wanted to write since I was 8, and I was just fearful. I was fearful of failing. I was fearful of the judgment of others. It was like one of the subtexts of Waiting for Godot. Maybe it's better not to test the dream just in case you're found wanting. And I was pretty sure I'd be found wanting. So it wasn't until I was 35 or so, older than that, actually, almost 40, and married. And my husband knew what my dream was, Michael Whitehead. And he came to me one day and he saw I was just ground down. ground down by choosing a career that I liked but didn't love, and that I was good at but not great at, and would never be great at, the journalism. And he said, if you want to quit to write a book, I'll support you. And he meant it. So that was huge. But I quit work, and I then suffered 5 years of writer's block, which was not so good. And that was fear, of course. I was riddled with fear. I was paralyzed by it. And then a few things had to happen. And as a journalist, I realized when you cover tragedies, which unfortunately I had to a few times, and you see that's not can appear to be one big thing, but it is actually a cascade of smaller events that come together. You remove any one of those smaller events and the tragedy wouldn't happen. But the same with wonderful things in my life. And Michael and I moved out of Montreal into a village just south of Montreal, north of the Vermont border. And I fell in with a group of women who were all creative. They were dancers, they were poets, they were artists, they were musicians. And once a week we'd get together, and they called themselves Les Girls, and they invited me to join them. And I said, well, I'm a writer, but I haven't actually written. And they said, you get to define yourself. No one else gets to define yourself. You. If you think you're a writer, then you are a writer. So I got to join them, and I got to see them create and take risks, the risks I wasn't willing to take. And I understood in watching them, and they had some great successes and things that weren't so good. And I understood that it wasn't the trying and failing that was going to kill them or me. It was the not trying. And so they gave me the courage to do it. And the final thing was that I realized I was trying to write the wrong book. I was trying to write a book that my mother would approve of, that my former professors would applaud, that my colleagues would be jealous of, which would have been half the fun and still would have been. And I realized I had to let go of all of that, the opinion of others, the approval of others, and just write a book for me. Write a book I would read and not worry about whether it's any good, not worry about whether it's published. And that was the contract with my 8-year-old self. Just get to the end. And so that's how it happened. And that's why my first book wasn't published till I was 45. To an extent, it goes back to the Auden quote. I had to be hurt into having something to write.
That's a fantastic journey, Louise. And you talk a lot during your journey about the self-learning and the courage of conviction, and also how do you embed creativity into whatever you're doing. And so what I'm wondering about is, who was the best teacher you ever had? Because you're such a good articulator of lessons learned, and why?
Well, my actual teacher was Miss Horn in grade 3. And up until then, and even frankly after that, I always felt kind of plodding intellectually and in other ways. And she listened to me. She let me know that I was heard. And that was huge. And I met her later in life, actually, and got a chance to thank her.
We're very grateful for everything that has happened, and particularly during what has been a particularly challenging year for you. What have you been most grateful for, maybe in the last year?
Friends, certainly, like the, who are here today, Rocky and David, and many, many other friends. You learn how important community is and connection is, whether it's connection like we are over Zoom or in person. But I think I'm most grateful for, and this came a little bit later in life too, is knowing how lucky I am. And I every day I try to just be aware and grateful that I'm among the lucky ones.
What a great lesson. And Louise, you should know that we're also very lucky, not only for hearing some of your thoughts, but also for being able to honor you today. So thank you for taking the time with us today, and congratulations. Welcome to the Ryerson family.
Thank you. You're not going to get rid of me.
I don't intend to, Louise. I want to offer my sincere congratulations and thanks to today's honorary degree recipients. We are grateful you have accepted this honor. Thank you for allowing us to share in your life's story and achievements. Your words have enlightened and inspired us. By your own example, you have shown our graduates and students that by aiming high and facing challenges with courage and determination, it is possible to be a beacon of hope and an agent of change. Welcome to the Ryerson family, and thank you to everyone for joining us.
That concludes our presentation. My warmest, deepest congratulations and thanks to our honorary degree recipients. I want to join our Chancellor in welcoming you to the Ryerson family. We look forward to deepening our relationship in the months and years to come. Thank you to everyone for joining us.